We started that, and then how do I invite people? I'm looking for some technical help with Zoom over here. I haven't used Zoom in a while. Does anyone know how to participant?
You mean how you get the link?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Awesome. One step at a time. So this is no, that's not it. That's not it.
Steven, right?
Yes.
Hey, nice to see you.
You too.
Did you just finish with the most recent cohort?
Yes. Yeah, in
Nice.
August.
Very cool. And your instructor was Steve?
No, they pulled someone from Pittsburgh. It was Tom.
That's right. I did hear that. How was it?
It was a lot of fun, honestly. I mean, there was a lot to learn in 3 months, but it was good. It was exactly where I needed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. And you're originally from Columbus? That's why you did the
Yes.
program here? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, what does the invite look
Did
like?
you do in person?
I did, yeah.
At the
And
Columbus one?
yeah, but I was .NET. So I had John, he was an instructor that retired, but he was there for like almost since the very start.
Yeah.
So it was really good.
Okay. Yeah, him being there was why my instructor was Tom.
Oh, that's right, because he left like, not too long before you guys got started. That's messed up.
Okay. And I think there's another thing I need to do. I am very new to this. There it is. Okay, finally found it.
Is that before or after?
That's
now.
before. That's and how do I? Okay. How do
Admit. Wait, set this to be automatic.
I'm sorry.
Set this to be automatic or else this is just gonna keep coming up.
Right. Hide floating panel. Hide control.
Okay, you're gonna have
Control Alt Shift H.
automatically admit.
Control Alt Shift H. Cool.
You have to turn off the waiting room. Do you know how to do that? So that people can always come in. Meeting room. Tap more in the meeting controls, tap host controls under settings, enable or disable. So go to host controls. Are you the host?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have settings? Wait, go to that Zoom little box that comes here. Do we have settings here? Yeah. Where's the settings here? Where's the settings here? Oh, there we go. Host controls. Under meeting. Is there something called meeting? No. Okay. As the host, click participant, click more. There wasn't anything when we went to more.
More settings.
I actually said that it should be under participants, but we just saw it wasn't.
Assets, invite, voice share invites, security.
Oh, there we go.
Waiting room.
Perfect. Nice job, Kenny.
Okay.
Okay, let's rock and roll.
Customize waiting room.
Is there like
Request a password. Request a password. There's no password. Hopefully.
This is really long. I think we should just save it.
Sorry. At least we're not getting any more. So. Yeah, we're gonna close this. Oh, wait, what?
I'll just click it.
Cool. Everyone, sorry for the technical difficulties. Welcome to the workshop on networking and really building a community for your CSE career and also in extension STEM career. Please scan the code for the attendance, and we'll get started very shortly. Oh yeah, just a show of hands. How many here has LinkedIn already set up? Awesome. Just gonna introduce our speaker. So this is Tiana. Tiana actually did not originally come from a STEM, at least college education background. So very impressive. Went through a code camp and is now working as a full stack developer at one of the largest library software provider, OCLC. It's a nonprofit. We're very honored to have Tiana here today with us, and very excited to get the meeting started. Don't forget to connect with Tiana on LinkedIn. All her contacts we already provided in the LinkedIn post. Yeah, is everyone good to go? Awesome. I will leave the stage to Tiana here.
All right. Thank you, Cumming. What's the shortcut to hiding this thing again?
Oh, sorry. It's Control,
Yep.
Alt, you have to use 4 fingers. Control, Alt, Shift, H.
Okay. Control Alt Shift H. Nice. Okay. And this does what I wanted to do. Okay, so Kevin gave me a really nice introduction. I'm actually just going to start out by introducing myself as well. So I'm Tiana. I'm happy to be speaking with you all here today. As Kevin mentioned, I do have a background in education, so I like working with students. I'm a California native. I'm not originally from Ohio. After college, I did Teach for America for 2 years. That was in San Antonio, Texas, if you guys have heard of it. And then after that, I got a Fulbright grant to teach English in Taiwan, and that began a career in international education, which lasted for just over 8 years. I lived in Taiwan, I lived in Dubai, I lived in Scotland, and in Singapore is where I was right before I came to Ohio. And when I decided I wanted to transition out of education, I ended up joining a Y Combinator startup. It was in ed tech, it was in Singapore, so it was a really good transition for me. And I was working on the product side, but I worked closely with the developers because at that point I had already started to teach myself how to code in Python. And I wanted to learn more about the dev side. And so working with the developers closely is what actually inspired me to take the leap into becoming a developer. And that's when I applied for Tech Elevator. I got a scholarship to attend the bootcamp here in Columbus, and so I moved to Columbus, and that's what brought me here. And that was in January, so it's been a very exciting 2024 for me. Once I graduated from Tech Elevator, I don't know if you overheard me saying to Stephen, it was actually in .NET C# is what I studied there. I got a job as a software engineer at OCLC, which, as Kemming mentioned, is a really large international nonprofit. It's based here in Columbus, or headquartered here in Columbus, but we have offices around the world, including in the Netherlands, in the UK, and in Germany. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to first talk about what networking actually means and how to do it right. Next, I'm going to talk to you about how to establish and grow your network once you know what networking is, how to follow up and ask for favors, because I know that's something that a lot of people struggle with, especially because it can be quite awkward. And then finally, at the end, we're going to talk about cold outreach and how that plays a part in your network. I say it's hard mode because it's usually the thing that people feel the most uncomfortable with. And so if we're all ready, let's dive on in. All right, so what networking is and isn't. I kind of want to get this out of the way because it sets our mindset, right? Like, what are we doing when we're trying to network? Oftentimes people are turned off from networking because they think networking is something that's here on this side, which is introducing ourselves to as many people as possible. How many people can we tell our names? How many people can we shake hands with? And then we hear their name, and then we forget their name, and then we kind of avoid them or say, hey, the next time we see them. That's not actually networking. Okay, networking isn't one-sided. It's not like we're going to be interviewing people. And it's also not achieved through attendance alone. I'm so happy you guys are all here. For this to be a networking event, I don't want you to just show up here, listen to me talk, and then leave. There needs to be some aspect of, that could be not just connecting with me, but connecting with the others that are here in the room. I think there's a pretty good chance you don't know everybody who's in the room already. Okay, so this is what I mean by not just through attendance alone. What we're actually doing when we're networking is we're trying to form lasting relationships. We're trying to be genuinely interested in others, and I said trying to be, but that's not true. We are going to be genuinely interested in others because we're going to seek commonalities. What might we have in common with that person? And it's not always just professional. Okay, and then most importantly, and this is the part that people most often leave out, is this idea of thinking of ways that we can help others. We think of networking sometimes as asking people for favors or getting connections so that people can do things for us. But networking is actually thinking of what we can do for other people. And there are things that we can do for other people, even if we are just students. Okay, so this is what we're going to go through. So first of all, how we're networking. We're going to talk about sharing who you are, seeking commonalities, and thinking of ways to help. Some of the points that were on the previous slide. So sharing who we are. What this basically means is trying to get people to care by telling them a little bit about ourselves. And so, like I said, this isn't one-sided, right? We have to tell people about who we are. And so you probably have heard of something called an elevator pitch, right? Can I get a show of, if you want to raise your hand, just a little one? Yes, perfect. Okay, so elevator pitch, I'm going to say 20 to 40 seconds, because let's be honest, a conversation is a back and forth. What I'm doing right now, just like speaking to you, is not how we actually talk to people when we meet them in real life, right? We have a back and forth. So I know we've heard maybe that elevator pitches can be like 60 seconds. That's a little bit awkward if someone's just talking for 60 seconds. It can be shorter. The reason why we practice it, though, is not so that we sound like a robot, but so that we feel comfortable remixing it, different versions of it, adapting it to the situation, to the person that we're talking to. If you're afraid of sounding scripted, then you can go off the cuff. What we're basically trying to tell them is what your name is, what your school is, what your major is, what you're interested in, not just academics, but it could also be personal. Okay, so what do you like doing outside of what you're studying? And then whatever event you're at, why you're at the event. I put that one in red because it's kind of like a so what? Like, what are you even doing here, right? And I'm not going to put anyone on the spot right now by saying, like, give me your elevator pitch. I don't even know if I should ask, does anybody want to give their elevator pitch? You have one coming?
I have one.
Of course you do, okay, go ahead.
So.
Wait, are you really confident with it? Like, if I pretend to be someone else and I give you a situation, like of where we meet, would you be able to give me your elevator pitch?
I'll try my best.
Okay, cool. We've never met before, and we are at Columbus AI Week at a talk that is about AI and leadership. And so I'm introducing myself to you. I can't think of the name off the top of my head.
I'll go first.
Okay, go for it.
Oh,
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you here as well. So my name is Kemming. I'm a student at The Ohio State University studying computer science and engineering. I'm really excited to be at this event. AI is everywhere nowadays, and it's even like a huge part of it's a hugely important tool that I use every single day to like build this platform that's called Research Mentorship Program that it's the software engineering club I'm part of. We try to help undergraduate students find peer mentors and mentees, and by just having this like really tight coupled 3-people team over the summer, and with the help of GPT to like do really high level reviews on our software architecture, we're able to get product out like this semester. I'm super excited to share with you if you're interested, and excited just in general to see what the presenters have for us today.
I am really interested. Do you have some way of me getting in touch with you? Because when you're done, I would love to see what you guys come up with.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, you don't have to do that, right? Thank you. Round of applause. Thank you so much. You may go ahead and sit down. Thank you so much for volunteering that. It's not easy to do this in front of people, especially on the spot right now. What I really liked about Kemming did, he did I study at OSU, and this is what I'm studying. He tied it to why he's at this imaginary event, but also he mentioned his club, like throw in something that is gonna be relevant experience, like based on where you're at. So he's plugging his club, he's showing he's really keen and interested, and he's actually hooking me into like wanting to follow up with him. And better yet, because he told me he's doing this, even if I don't follow up with him, I'm a very busy person, right? When he reaches back out to me, he'll be able to say, hey, remember that project when we met I told you about? And then I'll have something to go off of. Versus, hey, remember my name is Kemming, I go to OSU. I'm like, okay, I meet a lot of people from OSU, right? We're in Columbus. Okay, so thank you so much, Kemming. Amazing. Okay, so the point here being, what is it that's going to be something that somebody will remember about something that somebody will remember when they leave the event, if you were to see them again, or if you were to reach out to them again? You want to make sure that they remember you. Okay? So next we're going to talk about seeking commonalities, what this means. If it almost sounds like we're trying to make friends here, we kind of are. I'm not going to lie, I've made a lot of friends through networking, people who, even though what we had in common is tech, we actually hang out and talk about things that are not tech. It's just one of the things that happens because we're trying to be curious about other people. We have to be actually wondering what is more to this person than just their title. Okay, so someone might introduce themselves and say, I'm a student studying computer engineering at OSU, but there's more to that person than just that. Because otherwise, if that was all there was, then how are we going to remember the differences between all the different people we meet? How are you going to stand out? But also, how are you going to find common ground with this person? Something that will help you create conversations with this person the next time that you see them. For example, if I run into Kemming at another event, I'm going to ask him about how his club is doing, right? Because this is something that I'm interested in because I used to work with students, right? So when we talk about common interests, this could be things that are academic, professional. When I say academic, I don't just mean, hey, I'm at a coding event and a lot of people here are coders. It's what specifically within your course are you specializing in something? That's something that you can talk to people about. What about if you play any sports, if you play any certain types of board games or video games? These are things that you could also be chatting with people at networking events. Okay, you're gonna have to gauge the situation. A lot of times, you could also just be eavesdropping on people's conversations. There was a time when I ended up speaking to somebody about London because I overheard him saying that he just got back from a business trip. And I really love to travel, as you heard from my introduction. So I joined that conversation and I said, hey, you got back from a business trip, from where? It turns out it was in London. I've never been to London, so we started talking about that, and he was telling me about all the things that he enjoyed seeing when he was there. And then that was a really easy way to start a conversation of, so you're a developer, but you do a lot of travel. And as it turns out, his role was as a developer advocate. Does anybody know what that is? I didn't know what that was either. But now we're talking and we're having this conversation where this is somebody who's teaching me something new. And now whenever I think of developer advocates, I think of this person. If I needed to reach out to a developer advocate, I know who I can reach out to. All right, this last part about how to network, thinking of ways to help. Okay, so a myth I hear often from students is, as a student, you don't have anything to offer. You're just studying, right? Like, people can do things for you, but what could you do for people? Well, whether you're talking to other students or professionals, there are definitely ways that you can help. So for other students, let's say you're at an event, you meet another student. Let's say this event right now. You can be helping them with certain classes or certain subject matter. Maybe they have a professor this semester that you had last semester or last year. That's something you can offer to help them out with, okay? You could be their +1 at a future networking event. Maybe you both want to go to an event, but you both feel a little bit weird about showing up alone. Offer to go with the other person. You could also give feedback on a project or a piece of work, their developer portfolio, maybe something that they did for a class. There's always something that we can do to offer to help. What about when you are thinking of ways that you can help professionals, people who are already established in their careers? Well, you could be offering them opportunities to share their expertise with students. What about a platform like this, right? You meet somebody, they're really passionate about giving back to the community. You're in this club, you can even offer to put them in touch with Hemming so that they can come and speak to you guys, right? A lot of times people want advice for their kids. You go to OSU, and a lot of you want to go to OSU, and they might be wondering, what is your advice for getting into the computer engineering major at OSU? Okay, so this is something that you could also be offering to them. Or, as this last bullet point says, they'll tell you. The point is you want to be open. Okay, so it might not be that day, that month, or even that year. It's some time in the future that you won't even predict. But if you show that you're willing to help others, even if they never cash in that check, people will be more willing to help you, okay? I'm not saying offer to help others and then flake on people, but I mean, like, be genuinely thinking that, like, I could give my time to somebody, and then it's almost like creating good karma that can come back to you, okay? And I am getting to a point where I'm saying a lot of these things that almost sounds like you should do this, this, this. How do I know that this works? It's because it got me a job as a software engineer with no prior experience in the field. All the things I just talked about, okay? So introducing myself to people, putting myself out there at events, making sure that I was telling other people that I was willing to help, showing that I was really keen to get involved in the community here in Columbus. And so this is my story. I told you I moved here in January. I didn't know anybody. I'd never been to Ohio before I moved here. Okay, so I was attending Tech Elevator during the day, and in the evening I attended a meetup for the Central Ohio .NET users group. It's very long. It's called Condig for short. Point is, people who use .NET or people who code in C#, they go to this users group. Okay, so I showed up there. I wanted to meet other developers who coded in this language that I was learning. And the idea being that I wanted to meet people who maybe could mentor me in the language. Okay? So after the presentation, I didn't just run and go back home. I stayed behind, and the people who were organizing the event were up at the front of the room. And so I introduced myself to those people. I told them my situation about being a student, and I said that I just started coding .NET, .NET C#, but that I was really excited about it and I was really enjoying it. And so showing that sort of interest and wanting to introduce myself to these people and saying that I wanted to continue to come back to the club, it was somebody who was organizing the event who said, hey, you know, in a few months' time, and this would have been January, so he told me in May, so 5 months from now, there's going to be a tech conference. And usually we need volunteers. So, you know, when it's closer to that time, you should volunteer. Okay, so he mentioned this sort of offhand. I ended up following this up, right? So it's getting a little bit closer to May. I see announcements about this conference coming up. So I get back in touch with this person because I added them on LinkedIn. I said, hey, you mentioned volunteering. I would love to volunteer, showing that I'm keen. I was able to volunteer at the event, and it was at that event that I met representatives from OCLC. We had HR there because OCLC was one of the sponsors of the conference. And so at the booth that they had set up was somebody from HR. After I spoke with her, she said, if you come back in the afternoon, you can meet one of the managers for the team that's hiring. And I ended up meeting my manager there at that conference. And so later I went home, I looked at the job description. It was in a totally different stack. It was Java, it was React. This wasn't what I had studied, but I had met the manager. So he said, go ahead and send along your resume. And so I did, got an interview, and then in that interview was able to show that even though I was coming from a different tech stack, I was still able to do the job of this role. And that's how I got my job. But you could say, yeah, there's a lot of factors that went into this. The point being that if I hadn't shown up to that event, if I hadn't stayed behind and spoke to that person, if they hadn't offered to let me volunteer and I hadn't followed that up, and therefore I wasn't at that event, then I wouldn't be where I am now, right? And you just never know. You're trying to put yourself in a position where you get as many of these opportunities for these things to happen as possible. Okay, so next up. How are we going to establish and grow our network? This involves attending the right events, okay, of which this is one of the right events. You want to participate, and then you want to have a way to keep in touch, okay? And that's where things like LinkedIn come in, but there's more than just that. All right, so attending the right events. I would encourage you to expand your search and aim for variety rather than staying in a niche. The reason why I say this is I mentioned that I went to a meetup group for people who code in .NET and C#. I also went to a meetup group for people who code in Ruby. I also went to Columbus JavaScript. I went to all of these different meetups because we don't need to, pigeonhole ourselves is what I'm thinking of, into being one thing. If you don't actually know yet, there's lots of different kinds of developers. There's even a meetup group here in Columbus that's just for DevOps. Okay, so there's a lot of different opportunities, and I would recommend that you check out a lot of these different events and not just be stuck on maybe what's the thing that you're interested in right now, but what could you be interested in? Here's how you find events. You're going to follow organizations on LinkedIn and Handshake. So I spoke to Alex and Kemming a little bit about how you guys use Handshake. This wasn't something that I used when I was studying, but I had a look on the site and I'm kind of familiar with what the deal is here. I could see that you can follow certain companies and you're even able to get in touch with certain recruiters. So following organizations on LinkedIn and Handshake is really important. There's some examples here. I don't know if you recognize any of these, but if you don't, these are a great place to start. The reason why, I'll give an example for LinkedIn because this is what I'm most familiar with. These organizations will post, and they'll post things like, it's intern season, our application's open next week. Okay, so you'll be able to see that. Organizations like Give Back Hack, so this is for people who want to get involved with social enterprises, so kind of like things that are going to benefit the community, where you're coming up with, it's like a hackathon, but you're thinking of ways that you can benefit the community, basically. Tech focused, but with a strong social leaning. They'll post when they have events, and that's something that you could attend, and it's a great networking opportunity to meet people that are in all stages of their careers. Okay, subscribe to different newsletters. In these newsletters, like Tech Life Columbus, Ohio X Purpose Jobs, they post like lists of what are all the events that are going on in town. And then finally, you should download the Meetup app if you haven't already and join the different groups. These are some of the groups that exist on there. Bites and Boards, this is for people who like tech but also just like board games. So they get together, they don't talk about tech, they just play board games. There's really like something for everybody out there. But the reason why this would be a great event to attend is imagine being able to meet a mentor in the tech industry, but you already have a foundation in something that is a common interest, like just having fun playing games, right? It doesn't have to be so serious all the time, but you're still meeting people who would be able to guide you or help you in the future. All right, so when I say participate and physical presence is enough, I mean setting a clear goal. So when you're driving or riding or carpooling to the event, I want you to try deciding what you want to achieve. So that could be meeting X number of people. How many people does it have to be? What do you think is the right number? Yep.
My personal number is 3 like really, really strong connections instead of just saying hi to everyone once and that's it.
Okay, very good. So 3 connections more than just saying hi. I see some nodding heads. It could be 2. It could be 1. I'm happy with 1. If it's 1, I know that all of us don't feel super comfortable. I would say just 1 and above. Even if you set just 1 person that you're going to have a conversation with, it's not always easy, but set some kind of goal for yourself. Okay? Maybe your goal is you don't really want to talk to anybody, but by the time the presenter is done talking, you want to have the courage to raise your hand and ask a question. That could be your goal for the event. I've done that sometimes when I didn't really feel like socializing, but I was super interested in the topic that the event was about. So I just told myself, okay, I'm gonna ask a question to the presenter, okay? Really difficult one, but one that's definitely worth doing. Invite 1 person to get coffee in the next couple of weeks. I added on there like, in the next couple of weeks, I put a time bounds on it, right? Because it's easy for people you just meet to kind of lose touch. But meet somebody at an event, like if I was meeting Kevin just now and I would say, hey, 2 weeks from now, do you want to meet up and tell me about how your club is progressing with this latest thing that you've been working on? Okay, that could be another example of a goal that you could set for how you participate. But please, please, please don't just show up, sit down, like usually there's chairs like this, quietly to yourself, like on your phone, wait for the speaker to start talking, and then the speaker stops talking, and then you get up and then you leave. It's like you may as well have not have been there, honestly. And then a pro tip, volunteer. Volunteering is amazing for so many reasons. You will meet new people, you will foster goodwill, like people will think really positive things about you because they know that you're a kind person that likes to help out. And there's this added benefit, you can add it to your resume. Okay, so volunteering is really great for that reason. There's also like special perks. You get access to things that you probably wouldn't have. Like I told you that I volunteered at a conference and that's how I met my employer. But as a volunteer at that conference, I got to access the room where all the speakers would hang out before they went up on stage. That's really cool. Like as an attendee, you wouldn't get that kind of access to ask questions to people who are actually presenting at the event. So this is an example of what I mean by special access. And then like free swag, like t-shirts and things like that, that's like on the side. But volunteering is a really great way to network and to, build these relationships with people that are more meaningful than just introducing yourself. Okay. Having a way to keep in touch. This next part is important because if Kemming and I had just had this conversation and I said, wow, that sounds really cool with your club, well, good luck, and then I left, then that would kind of just be that. And I would just have to, if Kemming wanted to get in touch with me again, he would just have to like hope that we would show up at the same place at the same time and he would have the chance to talk to me again. Okay, but we don't want to just leave it to chance. How we can stay in touch, LinkedIn. It was great that so many of you already have one. If you don't have one, make one now, just because it's really easy, it's really popular. If you are networking with people that are already in their career, a lot of people who are working already have LinkedIn, okay? And it's really, really casual, okay? So it's really low pressure. You just add somebody as a friend on LinkedIn. There's not really anything heavy to this. Email is also an option because everybody has one. The great thing about email is that it's more personal. You're more likely to get a reply, is what I found, is that if you're like in somebody's email inbox, they're a lot more likely to get back to you. But it's lacking these benefits of LinkedIn in terms of you're not going to be seeing each other's updates, and because it's not as casual, it might put a little bit of pressure on people who are, maybe you don't know them so well and you're asking them for something, and then it's a little bit easier for them to kind of just pretend like they didn't receive your email. Okay, but email is definitely still an option. So the point is, though, we don't want to leave it to the other person to ask. Okay, so in this conversation where I had with Kemming, I asked to keep in touch with him. But a lot of people aren't going to ask that. It's still on you to be proactive. Ask them for their contact information. And that could be something as simple as, hey, do you have LinkedIn? I would love to add you. It's that simple. Okay, any questions? No? We're now moving on to the second to last section. This is about following up and asking for favors. Okay, so we've put ourselves out there, we've started forming these relationships with people, we're attending a lot of networking events, and now it turns out that we see an opportunity and we know somebody who'd be able to help us out with that opportunity somehow. How do we follow up and ask for favors? Okay, and this says LinkedIn, but the point here being you want to establish contact with somebody between 24 and 48 hours after you met that person. So you met them at an event, you guys had a great conversation. Within the next 1 to 2 days, you send them a message after meeting them. And the purpose is that you want to establish this line of communication. The more time it takes, the more awkward it is, and the more context you'll have to give them. Do you remember a couple weeks ago, I'm this person, we talked about this? Okay, so right away, you're creating this line of communication, and then even if it's a long time before they talk to you again, there's this little message in there where it could jog their memory. And in that message, it's just, we met at this event, we talked about these things, I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to keeping in touch. It could be something that simple, okay? When we're sending these messages though, I do want you to avoid some common mistakes. This one is a common mistake. Please reach out to me if your company has any junior roles or any internships. Please let me know. That's amazing. I would love to work at your company. Can you just let me know when your internships are open? What's the problem with this? So what's happening here is we're asking somebody to do our work for us, and we never want to ask somebody to do our work for us, right? You're the one who wants an internship. It's your job to find out when is the internship. So what can we ask for instead? What we're going to do is we're going to look at the company's career page. We're going to ask for help with a specific role. If there is an internship open at the time, then we're going to do our research, find that out, and ask about that. If it's an entry-level role, like or a new graduate, then we're going to reference that, especially if there's a job code. We can provide that for them so that they can look it up in their company's internal system. We do some research to see if the company sends email updates, and many of them do, and we sign up for those, right? You go to the careers page on a lot of these big companies' websites, it says sign up to get updates. You sign up for those, and then when the internship season starts, you get those emails automatically. And then you reach out to that person. There's no reason to ask them to do any kind of Google research for you, right? That's not a good way to establish that relationship with that person. Another common mistake. It was great meeting you. I've attached my resume. Can you take a look and tell me what to improve? Does anybody know why that might be less than open-ended? Yes. Too open-ended, and also, what exactly are we looking for here? There's a lot that can be improved upon in a resume at any given time. So we want to be as specific as possible when we're asking for feedback. If it's something like a resume, 1, ideally maximum 2 aspects. When I say aspects, I mean like, does it visually look okay? That's an aspect. Or are my bullet points specific enough? That's an aspect. And then you're maxed out. Because ideally what you would actually do is you would just get feedback on different parts from different people, right? This person is looking at these couple of things for you, and then you ask a different person to look at these couple of things for you. You're not putting all of that onto one person. The point being, you always want to make it as easy as possible for someone to help you. And to increase your chances of actually having that person fulfill the task, the easiest tasks are the ones that get fulfilled. So try to have the easiest ask possible. Okay, we're on to the last part, which is about cold outreach. First, before we start reaching out to people cold, which means reaching out to people who we have not met before and who we may never meet before because maybe they live outside of Columbus, or maybe they do live in Columbus, but we've just never met them and it seems unlikely that we would run into them on the street. Update everything. So your resume, your Handshake profile, your LinkedIn profile, everything needs to be up to date. The reason being that when you reach out to that person on Handshake or on LinkedIn, and then they click and they see, who is this person that's contacting me? You want to make sure that you have the most recent portfolio shown, or the most recent accomplishments, or if you're a junior, you don't want your profile to say that you're a sophomore. You want all of these things to be up to date. And so where we're going to do cold outreach on Handshake, you can reach out to alumni. I saw that that was a feature on there. There's also recruiters. If you go to a certain company and then go under the section that's called people, you'll see the recruiters there. And why these are good people to reach out to is they're the ones who are actually going to decide whether or not you get the interview, right? They're the ones who are trying to fill the role, whether that be an internship or an entry-level role once you graduate. Who are the people that we're going to reach out to on LinkedIn? These will be people in the roles that you want at the company you want to work at. So the search kind of goes like, search for the company name, click on people, and then filter by whatever their position is. Where it's really tricky in tech is you'll probably notice that a lot of companies call things differently. So you'll have to maybe read through the list of their employees and see what is that role called or that specific company. Even better, not just what their role is, but see if any of them went to OSU. You can also filter by school, or you can filter by see if any of them are located here in Columbus. Why that's really great is because if you do end up establishing a really friendly conversation with that person, you can actually offer to meet them in person, which could then make them an even stronger connection. LinkedIn also has a bunch of recruiters. You can find them the same way here, right? So instead of filtering by engineers, you might filter by the people who work in HR and start adding those recruiters. And why we want these recruiters / recruiter influencers, and I don't mean just for any kind of specific industry, like only recruiters at FANG, for example. A lot of companies have tech, right? So we want recruiters that are going to just be recruiting for engineers at any point in time. And the more recruiters we have on our feed, I don't know, does anybody have any recruiters on their feeds right now? Does anybody know what this unlocks when you have a bunch of recruiters on your feed? Whenever they have roles, they post about it. Okay? And then you can actually just reach out to that person directly, right? It's not just dropping your resume into a job portal and then wishing that somebody gets back to you. You're seeing recruiters post these roles, and then you can actually just comment on that post or send them a direct message if you guys are good. Okay, so it's really good to have that there just so that you know what's going on at these companies and when roles become available. What do we say to someone that we don't even know? Is anybody wondering that right now? How do we reach out to these people? We don't know them. It's not like we're at the event. It's like, you're here, I'm here, we already have something in common. What do we say to people we don't know? Here's some examples. So I think you can see the context of this. This was before I joined Tech Elevator. This was somebody who I filtered by, what was it? This boot camp that I was looking at called Springboard. And when I was scrolling through, I could see that her previous role was in education. And this was something, we said before, seeking commonalities. This is especially important with cold outreach. This was something we had in common. What's really funny about this person is like, we've never met and we've chatted so many times, we're still in touch. I've never met this person, and yet because of this first message, we've been able to keep in touch. She's a data scientist now, and I'm doing this, but we met each other when we were both just transitioning careers. This one's a little bit longer, but take a second to read it. Okay, so this is somebody who, maybe not in the role I wanted, but definitely in the company that I wanted. Okay, so that's how I found this person. This last question here, how to specialize in the area of security, okay, and about career journey. Because I looked at this person's profile, I saw that before they were at Atlassian, they were at Taco Bell as a developer, but developing at Taco Bell versus developing at Atlassian are totally different roles. And then I saw that he became a manager in the area of security. So this was kind of the conversation starter, showing an interest in someone and being genuinely curious. Like, how did you decide to change, to make this change in company, but also to make this change in deciding you're not gonna be an individual contributor anymore, you're gonna be a manager, and why security exactly? Okay. This is somebody who I found through that thing where we were looking up the organization. So in this case, Microsoft's apprenticeship program has its own company page. So it's not on the main company page, but through that research was how I was able to find that page and how I found this person. Okay, and this person was a teacher for the apprenticeship program. So I knew that they would be able to ask or to answer that question for me. Okay, last one. I added this one because this one's just a little bit different. Does anybody know what the context for this was?
You watched their tutorials and just wanted to let them know that you watched it, it was useful for you.
Yeah, this was after watching a YouTube video. This wasn't even on LinkedIn. I watched a YouTube video. The name of the presenter was in the description of the YouTube video, so I looked them up and I sent them this message. I showed you these screenshots because every single one of these screenshots got a reply. So ranging from that first one where this is a friendship that I'm maintaining online with this person over several months, versus this person here who accepted my request and said, hey, thanks, like I'm glad I could help, let me know if I can be of any help in the future. And we just left it at that. But there's this line of communication open now, right? Like this door is open. This is somebody who has all this knowledge. They post tutorials on YouTube, and they said that I could reach out to them if I needed help with anything. That's really cool. Okay, so what are some examples of reasonable asks? A connection request is a reasonable example, is a reasonable ask. A 15 to 30 minute chat, a referral, there's a star next to that. Pro tip, if you are using LinkedIn and you go in the search bar, you can type the company name, referral. So let's say we were just talking about Microsoft referral, and then you can see posts. Some people actually post about it, that they're just like handing out referrals to people they don't know. Those are the safest people to ask referrals from. Referrals are a little bit of a hit or a miss. I know.
Learning how to basically engage with that to help them have that.
Ayush, you are not muted. How do we do this? Oh wait, is it okay? Do you want to do it? We're good, okay. So referral is a bit of a hit or a miss. We know that they're really, really helpful. The only thing is that you're kind of asking somebody to vouch for you, and when they don't know who you are, they're a lot less likely to vouch for you. So referral is much better for people you meet in person. Again, if people are offering referrals and you see that they're posting about it, then definitely ask for a referral. Or if you've had a few messages back and forth, ask for a referral. If you've had a 15-minute chat and then later, ask for a referral. Sometimes just ask for an answer to a specific question, right? Like I was asking that guy from Microsoft, like, when is the next application cycle gonna open? I wanna be prepared, right? Okay, but what if they ignore you? Or worse, they say no. Do you wanna have a chat? No, I'm busy. Or can I have a referral? No, you can't, I don't know you. It's very awkward, it's very cringe, but at the same time, what you stand to gain is so much greater than that. Like this awkward feeling, this is a person, we just said, the reason why it's a cold outreach is because like you've never met them, you are probably never gonna meet them. and then that interaction is done, okay? Honestly, put yourself out there, like what you stand to gain. You could be getting an answer to something that you want to know. You could be getting an internship. You could be getting a job, and that's such a greater reward than the risk that you're taking by then putting yourself out there. Okay, so benefits far outweigh the costs. Okay, networking is about making lasting relationships. That is what I said at the start of this presentation. How can we do that? How can you create a relationship with somebody that you are probably never going to meet in real life? Does that mean I was lying? To have a lasting relationship, we're not necessarily saying that we have to have a deep relationship, right? This could be somebody that you exchange messages with every once in a while. That doesn't mean that they know everything about you and you know everything about them. Together, you're gonna decide how often are you guys gonna talk. Is this something where you just exchange a few messages back and forth and you're very friendly and then it kind of dies out, then that's okay. That's something that you and the other person will decide together, right? So, summary, wrap this all up. I've been talking a lot. I'd really love for like you guys to ask questions and have your feedback. So let's just wrap this up. Okay, I'll move that. You're trying to get to know people. You're trying to establish a relationship where you can both help each other. I want you guys to be attending events and volunteering whenever possible and making it as easy as possible for people to help you. Okay, so building your network is gonna take time. I think that's kind of what we're summarizing here, right? If we're building these lasting relationships and we're not walking up to someone, shaking their hand and saying, hey, can you give me a referral right on the spot, it is something that's gonna be more of a long game, and that's just the reality of it. But as we saw, there's a really great payoff if you're willing to put in the work. Okay, so here's your challenge. You're not gonna leave here without some sort of task that you have to do. Again, because I was a teacher. So I want you to register for an upcoming event. And while you're there, meet at least one new person and connect with them. So 3 things. Register an event, go there, meet one person, and then connect with them. That means like the email, the LinkedIn, some way to keep in touch. Here we go. Tomorrow, you can learn about Docker containerization at FreeCodeCamp. If you're busy tomorrow, on Thursday, you can go to CGI. They're having an open house on the AI technology that they're developing. If this week's not good for you, next Tuesday is Tech Takeover Tuesday. That's another event that you could be attending. Of course, you'll have to Google these things and get all the details. I didn't put those up here. The point being that if I could just like pull up these events that are all within the near future, it shows that there are definitely things going on. There's lots of opportunities for you. Got the photos, okay. And what does this all lead to? I'm putting this up here, Control-Shift-H, okay. This is what you get if you are persistent with your networking and you put in the effort. These 2 messages are people who I met through networking. This person just online, I've never met this person in real life, this person I met in real life, who later sent me something. They saw job opportunities. They reached out to me, they brought things to me and said, this would be a great opportunity for you. I wouldn't have seen these job posts otherwise. Okay. This last one. This is someone who had a question for me and I helped them out with that question. And they used to work as a recruiter, so they offered to put me in touch with a recruiter, like make that connection with me, with somebody. Okay? And so these are people that are then, once you've done networking, are gonna come back and you get the benefit of those people wanting to help you out. Once you show that you're interested in them, you're gonna have, a genuine.
Hey, what time is this class then?
At 7. So we're just wrapping up.
All
Sorry
good.
about that.
Thank you.
Okay, that's our cue to go, and thankfully, I am all done. So, this QR code takes you to my website, which is another way that you can get in touch with me. You can contact me on my email address. You have my LinkedIn. And yeah, I guess. I really do want to have, give you guys the opportunity to talk, because I said don't just come here and then leave. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this all up and go out in the hallway, and then if you want to hang back, I would be more than happy to speak with you and answer any questions you have.
Should we
gonna take a group photo, before
Yeah, let's do it, okay.
I will,
I'll go back to the first slide.
photographer.
Not with the screen on the face,
I did not know how to use it.
I think we're gonna be a little bit closer. But like, can you not turn it yours or
We only have half right now.
Oh, yeah.
Could everyone like squeeze a little bit closer?
Amazing.
And all these things like. I have everyone?
Yep.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys
Thank
so
you
much
guys so
for
much.
coming, and thank you so much, Tiana, for giving your time and wisdom to us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do some Tiana